What is going on, everybody? It's Daniel Wright, and you are here watching or listening to another episode of Paving the Way. If you are watching it, you're going to notice that I have a way different background behind me right now. And if you are listening to it, it might be a little windy and or noisy. So for either of those, I apologize if it's a bothersome to you. However, I've been on the road a little bit today and truthfully listening to a podcast that sparked some thoughts that I wanted to share for our episode that you're listening to right now. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into it because, truth be told, I probably look like a crazy person standing out here in a parking lot recording this video and audio for you guys to be listening to. But there's a kind of a two-part that, or a twofold, I guess, that goes into what I'm wanting to talk about today. The first part of it, the title, Nice Guy or Good Man. I was listening to a podcast that just got released by Ed Milet, and he had Matthew McConaughey on as a guest. And they talked about a lot of great things. If you haven't read Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, that got released a couple of years ago, I'd recommend listening to it. I've never actually read it. I've only listened to it, and it's narrated by him and his unique Matthew McConaughey way of communicating and his just his, I guess you want to call it like swagger of his voice, right? And so they were talking about that a little bit, talking about some different concepts and things like that that Matthew kind of lives by and has built his life by and encourages others to live by. And one of the concepts that came up was the idea of, is it better to be a good man or a nice guy? And when that got brought up, I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I kind of thought, hey, that's kind of the same thing. A good man is a nice guy, and a nice guy is a good man. And, for any ladies that are listening to this could be the same concept as far as, being a good woman or a nice girl. So don't think it's just about guys or just about girls or anything like that. But what they went into to describe and explain was a nice guy is somebody who everybody likes. Never really ruffles any feathers, kind of goes with the flow. As they use it as the example in the podcast, is wearing the same type of hats, is looking the same as everyone else around them to kind of blend in, not cause any problems, not create any conflicts or anything like that. Whereas a good man knows how to stand out. He knows how to stand he knows how to stand for what he believes in. He knows how to ask questions or to be a contrarian when it's appropriate. And I think that's something that a lot of people have a hard time really tapping into, is finding the balance between being a nice guy and a good man. The aspect of a nice guy that everybody likes, that everybody gets along with, that's great, but a good man can have good charisma and that everybody likes and gets along with. And he knows how to present the questions or the conflicts or the things like that come up. Whereas the nice guy will just kind of bow to whatever it is that everyone else is doing. And it's because they don't want to cause that conflict. They don't want to create that tension or friction in any environment. But like I said, it's, becoming a good man requires the balance and the awareness of how you're presenting yourself in those situations. So that kind of leads me to the other side of it that I was originally wanting to talk about today until I listened to that podcast. And that's the fact that I recently received a letter from a friend of mine, and I won't go into too much detail out of respect for our friendship and the fact that he chose to write me a letter and express some of his thoughts about some things that took place recently. But nonetheless, it was a friend of mine that was at an event that I was at recently, and I think I talked to you guys a little bit about it, the event up in Pittsburgh from the other week. And during that event, I'd spoken up to the group. There was probably, I don't know, I guess maybe 40 or 50 of us or so in the room. And without going into too much detail, there was a conversation being taken place that, in my opinion, from my perspective, was just getting beat with a dead horse or beat like a dead horse, right? So I spoke up and I said, look, everybody, I said, if we were to all raise our hands, who all is suffering or has suffered from this same issue that we're talking about right now? And 95%, truthfully, 100% of the hands should have gone up, but the majority of the hands raised up. And so I went into a little bit of a spiel, about the fact that says, look, guys, what we all have to understand is that the problem that this person is going through, that we're spending way too much time dissecting, is a problem that all of us are either going through or have gone through. And so, with that being said, we can get to a conclusion a whole lot faster if more people would speak up and participate. If the people who've already gone through this would just speak up and say, hey, dude, I've been there, done that. This is how I got through it. I'm happy to help you. Cool. We can move on to the next thing. And part of it was because I was getting tired of hearing the same thing being said over and over and over again. So that's why I spoke up. But nonetheless, it led this friend of mine. We had a brief discussion after that event, and he told me, he said, look, Daniel, he said, I appreciate you speaking up like that. He said, whether or not anyone agreed with you or not, he said, the fact that you were able to take the initiative to stand up for something that you believed in and felt that was necessary to address with everyone and did it in a respectful and confident manner. He said, that's a characteristic of somebody that, is willing to step up and out to lead the way and maybe take a few punches, a few bullets along the way for other people. And he said, that type of mentality, he said, I believe will take you, very far in what you're doing with your business and your life and things like that. So in the letter he wrote to me, he said, he just wanted to address that. He just wanted to express his gratitude and his thanks for standing up and just letting my voice be heard in a respectful, professional, and confident manner. And I'll be honest, when I got the letter, it was handwritten on a blank sheet of paper, no lines, and was probably one of the coolest things I've ever received. Not because it was, an ego fluffer or anything like that. Did it make me feel good? Yeah, of course it made me feel good. When someone expresses their appreciation for you or their, for lack of better terms, like their admiration for something that you've done or said or did, yeah, that's going to make you feel good. I don't care who you are. If it doesn't, then you probably need to find your heart somewhere, and not have such, be so serious all the time, as people tell me occasionally. But it was cool because as a leader, whether you're a leader of a business, you're a leader of a sports team, your family, your friend group, a social club, whatever it may be, as a leader, there are inevitable times where you will be standing out in front with absolutely no idea where you're going and what you're doing. But there are people who are counting on you to make sure that you show up, that you speak up, that you stand up for them and whatever it is that they're there for too. And when you do that, I'll be honest with you, it can be scary as shit. All right. When I was addressing that group of people in Pittsburgh, I don't know if anyone else heard it in my voice, but I felt like my voice was shaking like somebody, like a fifth grader at the spelling, had no into a microphone. But the point is that you do it anyway, that you stand up, that you are that leader, that you aim to be a good man and not just the nice guy all the time. And I believe that when you find that balance, when you can take the shift with the knowledge that you gain by being a nice guy, and if you take that time and observe, the good men or good women in the life and how they carry themselves, how they make things happen, if you can take that time of being a nice guy and transform it into being a good man with the lessons that you've learned, that's where massive change can happen. That's where big opportunities will present themselves. That's where making an impact is inevitable. At the end of the day, there's going to be people who live their entire life on this earth and they do nothing but live to exist and then to die. All right. And if that's you, and if you're happy with that, then great. Continue on with that because you deserve the happiness that you earn. All right. But the majority of people, I believe, want to have a purpose of their existence bigger than just to exist, just to take up air and breathe and just, work a mundane job, making mundane money, living a mundane life. Nobody wants that. Nobody wakes up and says, I'm excited for my boring life. All right. So my challenge to everybody is to take this time, take this opportunity after you've listened to this message today and figure out what it is that you can do with it that's going to allow you to create those opportunities to start stepping into being that good man or good woman that you are destined to be. Not just the nice guy, not just the nice girl that just gets along with everybody and keeps everybody smoothed over, but somebody who can make a difference. Somebody that is somebody worth looking up to by their kids, by their spouse, by their employees, their coworkers, their peers, whatever it may be. Because you owe it to them to be a good man or a good woman. And more importantly, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself because you've been given this life to live day in and day out. And if you're just wasting it away by living the mundane life that you're currently living, I can promise you that on the other side of being just the nice guy or just the nice girl, on the other side of that is something so rewarding that truthfully isn't even describable, because it's a feeling that you get that just keeps you pushing every day to keep doing more of it and to keep making more of a difference and creating more of an impact. So to summarize all this up, like I said, the nice guy and the good man. The nice guy gets along with everybody. He doesn't ruffle any feathers. He wears the same thing everyone else does. He just wants to blend in and get by, and everybody's good. The good man stands up for what he believes in. He's a contrarian when he needs to be a contrarian. He stands up for, the people who maybe don't have that voice yet to stand up for themselves. He asks the questions that other people think but are too afraid to ask for whatever reasons. He makes the statements that other people are thinking but are too afraid to speak up and say. Okay? Do those things. Become somebody you're proud of, because then you'll be able to step into being that good man or that good woman that you were designed to be. And at the end of the day, guys, like I tell you all the time, the whole point of these videos, the whole point of this podcast is to help you try and open your eyes a little bit to just see and feel and believe the life that you were created to live. All right. We want to pave the way for you to build that life and to live a life of something that is of value, of worth, and that is exciting. Because, guys, if we're living this whole life with no excitement, like I said earlier, no one wakes up excited to be bored. That's not, what happens. Even if you're on a nice vacation and your whole point is to just relax by the ocean every day, you're not being bored. You're actually doing something. There's a purpose behind that. Okay. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying right now. I really just thought it was interesting to hear that analogy of the nice guy and the good man, and then to be on the heels of hearing that, on the letter that I received, of more or less someone telling me that they appreciated me being a good man in that situation. It's something that, if you're in a leadership position, you can probably relate to, that it doesn't happen a lot. You hear a lot of the flack, you hear a lot of the criticisms, you hear a lot of the, people telling you coulda, shoulda, woulda, blah, blah, blah. It's rare to hear the, hey, good job. Hey, I appreciate that. So to my friend, I know you're listening to this. I appreciate you. I thank you for reaching out to me like that. I know we've already communicated otherwise, but you definitely inspired this week's or today's episode. And to anyone who might be looking for another podcast, the one that came out with Ed Milet and Matthew McConaughey recently was a really good one. So I definitely recommend that. So, guys, I hope you're having a great Wednesday. I hope it's going to finish off as good as it started, because it couldn't have started that bad if you listened to me first thing in the morning. So I hope you guys have a good one. I look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday.